Hi, how are ya?
You didn't do the
Sorry,
clapping.
you just do clapping. Welcome back to Film Fatales, a podcast talking about iconic actors and actresses' performances. And my name is Jeff, and I'm joined by my co-host. We never do this.
I'm like
we,
shocked. Like, what up?
we're
Should we
trying
start
to
doing
sound
that every
so
time?
proper because it's Oscar
We
season. I
can't.
want it to be like presenters.
Okay, my name's Chase, and you're watching the
The
Kids' Choice
Disney
Awards.
Channel. Can you imagine us presenting on the Oscars if like they're just gonna like they have no budget and they're just gonna invite like budget.
No budget,
The,
honey.
they
I
like the
charge
year is
premium.
the year is 2060. No one's watching movies anymore, and they're hosting the Oscars on YouTube or something. And they're gonna
I
ask like random
I am a host of a
podcasters,
podcast. We have listeners around the world, so
one listener.
we have one listener in at least like 10 countries. So I'm charging a premium fee for
Yeah.
my hosting services.
I'll always remember you saying that you lied to some like brand deals. No, you send out some
Stop.
like
You can't reveal me on the pod.
No, I'm not gonna say anymore then.
I'll say it. No. So I had a previous podcast called Two Servings of Fruit, which actually might be making a comeback if I find more time in the day.
Okay, sure.
And we were really focused on getting guests. This was during COVID. So when my job was to email the guests and basically sell them on coming onto our pod for free. Like some of them asked for booking fees, and obviously I could not afford that. So Two Servings of Fruit had a solid listening base for a while, I think largely because it was during COVID. And so we had listeners in like 26 countries. And so it doesn't matter that maybe it was one or two listeners in this country and that country. Like all you have to format in your email is that you have a listening base and you have proof from your analytics that you have a listening base in 26 countries. It sounds so impressive.
Amazing. It's all about perspective, just like the film that we're talking about today. It's all about how you put together the story.
Your segues are getting better.
Look at me doing smooth segues.
For real. But then when we point out that it's a smooth segue, it kind of ruins it.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. We're talking about the 2023 film or 24 film. 23, I believe. It came out last year.
2023.
Anatomy of
Say
the
the French
Fall.
title.
I can't say. Anatomy of like what's the film?
Anatomy d'une chute. Anatomy d'une chute.
What did you just call me?
Anatomy d'une chute? That sounds horrible. That can't be right. Am I saying that right?
Anatomy d'un chute.
No,
They don't
but
pronounce the T's.
No, I know, but it's not don. There's an E on the end.
Because it's connected. Dune shoot.
Yeah, Dune.
Well, anyway, you should know because you speak German. You speak German. You don't speak French. What a great movie!
I don't speak German for the record. Like, sorry, like
I don't speak German, but I can if you like.
That's me making up fucking shit and saying it's German, just like her.
First thoughts about the movie. Is this your first Sandra Hüller performance that you watched?
Sandra.
No, it's not Sandra. It's Zandra.
Literally. Okay. Anyways, yes, this is the first film of hers I have seen. I believe. Yes, for sure.
Yes, me too.
She's also in The Zone of Interest, which is nominated for a bunch this year. But
I'm going to watch that next. I'm excited.
Tell people what it's about.
It is about Anatomy of a Fall. So, like, I think the title really captures it. I think it's like anatomy in the sense that like the story follows a family of three. They're living in the Alps, and then one day the child discovers that the father has fallen off or allegedly has died on the snow ground. So the story follows the trial and like the unfolding of finding out the truth or a perspective of the truth through courtrooms, through investigations, through interrogations, through the perspective of the mother and the child and the various people that surrounds the case. So I think that's kind of like the way that I would summarize it. Like on paper, it's kind of like it's a dramatic story, and it's also
For
a
sure.
courtroom drama, if you can
Courtroom
say
drama.
so.
Yeah.
Courtroom drama, yeah. Um, did you like first thoughts about the movie, like overall rating so far, or
I
main
want to see.
takeaways even?
I wanted to see this movie for a long time, and I did. You explain that the suspicions?
Oh, the suspicion. So
Like, we
anatomy of
didn't
a
really
fall.
talk
So
about
going
why
back
they're in court. We just said they're in
Why they're in
court.
court. So because there wasn't any inconclusive evidence to suggest if it was a suicide case or it's like a homicide case. So the story really follows
Or an accident.
or an accident exactly. So the story kind of like tells partial truth, and also you start to piece together um, the backstory of this couple and also the crumbling dysfunction of this family, and you start to like the film kind of nudges and suggests you with the possibility of who done it, and if
I mean,
Sandra did
essentially,
it, or
essentially,
if it's like an
the
accident.
prosecutor suspects that she pushed him, right? Like, that's what they're really pushing for. She's
Yes,
indicted, or whatever they call it over there, and put on trial for killing him, right? Like, she's arrested for doing that.
yes,
And so it basically becomes, did she do it or did she not? And spoiler alert, they don't really leave you with any definitive
doesn't
answer.
matter anymore.
Doesn't matter. Anyways, I wanted to see this movie for a long time. Just based on the trailer alone, I thought it seemed really. I mean, I think the trailer is a really good showing of like how to do a trailer correctly with this type of movie. I find with like courtroom dramas or like whodunits, trailers are like doing too much. They're like showing me too much. You know what I mean? Where like I'm going in already with expectations, but this trailer's really, it doesn't really place you anywhere. So it's really good.
Yeah.
I love this movie. I actually didn't know that I would. And I loved it more after like sitting with it and thinking about it. I find it super impactful. It's the type of film that really speaks to me. It's the type of writing, screenplay wise, that really speaks to me. It's the type of writing that I one day would love to produce, but will probably never.
You can do it. You can do something like this.
Yeah, like also like the type, if this were in a book format, it's not adapted, is it?
I don't think it's adapted. I think
If this were
I think it
in
was
book
written.
format, it would be the type of book that I would want to read.
Yeah.
It was written what?
I think the film was written specifically for Sandra Hüller.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I believe it was the first. Not. I think it's the second collaboration with the director, Justine Triet, Triet. I'm probably butchering
Probably.
pronunciation there. You were saying, what were you saying again? Sorry, I'm jumping.
It's just the type of film that really speaks to me, and
right.
it almost on the surface of it seems really simple premise wise, but then like the more you sit with it, the deeper you get into it. It's actually like really poignant, and I think what it's trying to explore, in the sense, again, like the types of movies that really get me are the ones that explore like really simple just like human experiences and feelings of what it means to be a human. And even more so, like when we talked about Poor Things last week, like I again said that, but in the idea of staging that in like a grandiose sort of world. But I think even more impactful for me is when it truly is like, this is a realism film. Like this film is like, it's real, right? And so
Yeah.
it's surrounding obviously this traumatic event that happened, but the movie itself is really quiet and really pensive, and really just you sit with these human experiences as you learn about how they unfold. You learn about their marriage, you learn about things that have happened, and you're learning with the courtroom, right? With the jury. Like we don't get any sort of additional knowledge as viewers. And it
Yeah.
was really a fabulous exploration of like how when you pick apart your life that closely, just the damage that can come from over examining your life, I guess. Like when you pick apart
Yeah.
your life that closely, and it's hard if you're not in it to understand all the decisions that are made, all the nuances that happen, all the things that are said. When you pick apart a relationship of that length, I don't know, it just was like a really cool. And then you get into ideas of like um jealousy, or like I'm really interested in the idea of and this has been in other like stage plays I've seen, or films I've seen, where one partner in a relationship is very successful and one partner is struggling to break through, right? And the dynamics and the feelings of resentment and you just all of those things that come with that. Like this movie was just a really just like real movie to me.
Yeah. I think specifically, I think from the get-go, the movie doesn't really bias. The story isn't really privileging a certain perspective. Um, Especially Sandra, I think, to speak really quickly about her performance, um, there's a nervousness around her, which made me as an audience not buying her all the way. Um, and a lot of the camera work is like really forces the audience to be really still with what is happening. Um, there isn't a lot of like it is a really factual way of making the film. A lot of still
Right.
shots, a lot of long shots of her speaking, sometimes 2 minutes up to like 5 minutes long of like one take. A lot of
Yeah.
courtroom dialogues are happening that way. So she's able to like she's always like we're always looking at the film through the perspective of the jury, and then always like having this nervousness about her and not knowing all the way and not trusting her all the way. I think that really is like this long, unnerving thread like throughout the whole film. Um, like even like to talk about the first scene of the film, like I think like I wrote it down like she was interviewing no, she was being interviewed by a student, right? Like she said like, what do you want to know? Like the film immediately established like she knows how to manipulate answers and questions and how to like manipulate perspective.
Right.
I find it super unnerving from the get go, like just like the music blasting from the back, right? Um, and you have this like super intelligent protagonist, but you kind of don't know if I should trust her or not, right? Um,
Mm-hmm. I love an
yeah,
unreliable narrator too. Like if we're talking
yeah.
literary tropes, like an unreliable narrator is
We don't see
so
that
good.
often. We don't
We
see that
don't see it
often, do
often,
we?
and when we do see it, it's often done in a way that is really in your face and really like dramatic, and it's almost like a gotcha moment. Like I read this book called The Silent Patient, which was a fine book, but like spoiler alert, at the end you learn that the protagonist was the killer or something. Like it's just like really like just like really like punching you in the face with it. Whereas this like we know that we can't trust her fully, but like we don't know the specifics of that. Like we don't know to what extent, we don't know if that means that she did it, we don't know we just don't know,
if
right? So
we
it's
just don't
we
know
know
if
that she's
there's
not, we know that we cannot fully rely on her account of things, but it's never thrown in our face like just how far that goes, you know?
right. Why do we not trust her? I'm thinking about like different ways of casting. Like if we imagine the character being casted as like a film fatales with like Sharon Stone, like from like I don't remember like Glenn Close even like if you have like a sexy blonde, like this is a really flat like comparison. Like what if she's a bit younger, if she's a little bit more like on the more being traditionally being considered as sexy. Like I think the film would have went to a very different direction, right? Like we're you're seeing like I think because like Sandra being of a similar age as her husband, I think that puts a lot of like suspicion against like who done it. I think she needs to start with somewhere really neutral and plain. And as the story kind of develops, like we also know that she's not that simple. Like she also has a lot of ego, a lot of ambitions, a lot of grudges, and like she is also a very emotional person, also a very smart person. Um,
Can I say something that's like I spoke with my friend Liam about this and he was like, "What?" I was like, "I kind of like her." Like I kind of I kind of get the choices that she makes and I kind of like her. I don't know if I'm supposed to. Am I supposed to think she's
uh,
an evil woman? Because like Liam, for example, walked away from this saying she's a bad woman. He was like, "I love movies about bad women." I'm like, but I
is
don't
she a
actually
bad
think she's
woman?
bad.
Well, I mean that's the whole point of the story, right? Like
But
who
even
are
if
you
she
to
didn't kill
decide,
him,
right?
there's the argument that she's a bad person. She's a selfish person. She's an emotionally unavailable person. She's an emotionally unavailable mother. Like there's all of these ideas
Yeah.
about her, but I don't know.
But that's the product of a dysfunctional marriage. It's like it's not that she
Right.
is that, right? Like there's a process of how did she become the person that she is today. Um, I
Right.
think that's why the courtroom scenes are kind of for that function because um, the prosecutor was exactly that point of view. Like she's condemning that she's an incapable woman, like she's an incapable uh, uh, mother, right? Like, but then the final scene of like the courtroom, it's the defender defending Sandra, saying like the only
Mhm.
failure that she has is to be more successful than her husband, um, which was kind of shady, but um, she was able to like just focus on like one perspective of Sandra and like, yeah, she is somewhat not a perfect person, but then she's on like everybody kind of has those flaws too. Like we're not the person we're not bad in that way, but we're like a product of certain things, right? Um,
Mhm. Yeah, I think that yeah, I just don't think it's possible to cast her as a bad or a good person, and I think that's why it's such a great film and a great performance. Um, because again, you can't land on one or the other. It's not helpful to think of it as like, is she good or is she bad? Like no, it's real. Like no real person is entirely good or bad. Like we do good things, we do bad things, and we have our different reasons for doing them. Um, it's also maybe a commentary. I don't know about the French legal system, but it's maybe also commentary about the legal system's inability to understand people outside of that good and bad sort of dichotomy that's happening in the film, right?
right. It's all
Um,
about like narrative control, right? Like I'm drawing a like example from when Sandra was rehearsing with the lawyer.
yeah.
um, he said like don't say it's gone because Sandra was saying like some like our relationship is gone somewhere. um it's really precise, coming down to like language and like perception. and then how that change can like change other people's perception about yourself. um,
Right.
and even the lawyer was saying like really deliberately like it's not about like what is the truth, it's about like you need to start changing, you need to be aware of how people perceive you. um, and like that really had a really clear shift about like where the case is going to go, because it's no longer about the truth, right? Like I think at that point like the audience kind of know that we're ready, we will never know the real truth. It's almost like um yeah, I find that a little like the film itself might be a little too long, but I think maybe it's like a French thing. I'm not too much of
I
a
was
French cinema
never
watcher.
I was never, and part of my concern was the runtime. I was never bored, and I don't know. I actually have thought about it. I don't know what I would take out. I don't know what moment from this movie I would take out. Could you maybe clean up some of the like longer, more pensive scenes? Sure, but I think that you'd be doing a disservice to what this movie's trying to make you feel. Like it's trying to make you sit in like this weird tense place. Like you're not supposed to be comfortable watching this movie, and you're not supposed to be comfortable seeing all of this married couples like really intimate, personal, complicated and nuanced details be brought out to the public sphere. Like that's not supposed to be a comfortable thing. That's like a disturbing thing to me. Like I find it like kind of sad. And there's a
As a
lot.
child, right? Like if you're in the courtroom like hearing about your dad's suicide attempt, like
For
that's
real. I guess to give people context, they have a son who's partially blind, right?
yeah,
He had
visually
an
impaired, yeah.
right. He had an accident. He's visually impaired. Um, there's a lot of drama in their marriage surrounding what happened there. There's blame that's placed on whose fault it is that happened, and then there's fallout from now having a son who needs a certain kind of care, right? There's both of them are writers. She's more successful than him. There's complications there. There's accusations that she stole his creative ideas. There's affairs, like she had affairs with women after the son's accident. Also like totally pick up on that vibe when she's being interviewed by that student. And at first I was
totally.
like, I was trying to, because it was at the start of the movie. So I was like trying to stop myself. I was like, is there something here? Because like the way that Sandra was acting, I'm like, I feel like there's something here. But like it's like most things in this movie, it's not super explicit, right? But then I was like, no, I'm probably just like a fag who's reading into this. But then
there's always a queer reading of everything,
right, but then it fully turned out to be, I think it fully turned out to be a thing.
Oh yeah, I think she was going to turn it into a thing in Grenoble. Like she was planning to do it again.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh my god, can I say? Oh my god, sorry, I can't forget to say this. How the fuck did they get the dog to give better acting than some humans I've seen this year? That dog in that scene where the kid feeds him prescription pills to test something to see if his dad could have killed himself, blah blah blah. And so the dog is like vomiting, almost dying, and the dog's face is like, I'm like, how? The dog deserves an Oscar nomination.
Best dog acting goes to.
We're
it
mad
must
about
be like
Margot. I'm mad about the dog.
the best bitch award goes to
the dog and Margot Robbie.
the nominees are it must be like all like coordinated in that way. Like they must have like given the dog some kind of similar drug, but obviously
I don't think they
aspirin.
can. I think that's literally against the law.
Not in America. They might have different laws in Europe maybe.
I think the trainer, the trainer is getting a lot of attention because of how well the dog did in the movie, but I can't remember how she said they did it, but it was just a training thing. Like I don't think they fed the dog anything.
Interesting. even like the vomit, that's crazy.
Well, do you see the dog actually, like, do you see vomit leave the dog's
Oh
mouth? I don't know
yeah,
if you
yeah. There
do,
was like
right?
a quick camera pan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
outside. That's
but
fair.
anyways, dog's incredible. I also would just like to take a moment to say it really, really, really bothers me that the actor who played the son is not getting more attention. I thought he was so fantastic in this movie. I believed every second of his performance at every moment. My heart fucking broke for this kid so many times in this film. And he's like, just, I mean, he was nominated for the Critics' Choice because they do like a Young Actors Award, and he lost it to the kid from The Holdovers. Don't even get me started. Don't even get me
He's not a kid.
started.
He's like a fully grown man.
He's like 17. Don't even get me
Jesus.
started on the fact that that performance comes nowhere near to touching the performance of this kid in this film. I could see the kid in this film being nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars. And I'm
Sure. I
pissed
would
off.
agree. Yeah, I would
I'm
agree.
pissed off that it's not even like it seems to not even be a consideration because he was so good.
Maybe they didn't nominate. They didn't send in like a nomination, but like
I don't know.
I don't know how that system works, but
I don't either.
he absolutely killed it. Daniel, like the character name is Daniel. Um Fantastic job like acting. Just I wonder how like as a child actor, like you have to have the emotional language to understand the script, but then also playing not dumb, like playing not even innocent, but like being scripted into your mom's perspective and then having this awareness about telling the truth and like in
Yeah.
a really high pressure courtroom scenario where I think at the end he told the lie. I think he was scripting. He was
Well, we don't know.
making
Once
up.
again, like
We don't know
you just
again.
don't
Like,
know.
but I think at that moment, like he made up his mind that he wants this to be over with. I think he chooses to say what he believes. Like the nanny was like, I think we don't know what the truth is, but once we've decided on something, our mind will draw us towards those memories that closely approximate. So like that
Yeah.
way, like I think she like she was supposed to be the nanny. Like she wasn't supposed to like influence him or anyway, but like she becomes the person that influenced him at the end. Like I think that's so like kind of
And you
fucked
know
in a
what's
way.
crazy about what you say about like human perception of the truth? Um, is that's why this film is so masterfully done because as a viewer, wherever you bring in your own experiences and end up sitting with what the truth is in this film, you could rewatch it and read into everything completely differently, right? Like
Yeah.
everything in this film could be watched as she did it or she didn't do it, um, based on whatever you as a viewer kind of sit with, right?
Yeah,
That's
totally.
crazy. How do you make a film like that? Like, how do you do that? I would like to know.
I think I think you just have to be really good at control. I think it's about like knowing fully aware. I think like even I was watching like an interview like a round table about like the director. I think she knows exactly what the truth is, but like she's withholding that information to Sandra Hüller, who like in the like because she's not supposed to know. Like
Right,
if she knows about like the truth, like the ultimate objective truth, like she will only act with that knowledge and like she's not
right.
able to like kind of hold back anymore. But I think that's the whole point of the story. While we're talking about unreliable narrators, I'm thinking about like Lydia Tar with Kate Blanchett. She's an absolutely unreliable character
Yeah.
too. Like there's a lot of like similarities between the two movies in terms of like pacing, in terms of how things are unraveling. Um, like do you see the connection that I'm kind of drawing here?
I think I see the connection in the characters. This movie just feels a lot more
Contained.
real. Yeah, contained and
Yeah.
real. A lot more like Tar. I loved Tar, but Tar um still leans into like the sensational and still leans into um uh exaggeration in a way that works. Like, again, I like the movie, but this film feels like it's not giving into any sort of sensationalism about any of these experiences. There's no catalytic after the fall happens at the beginning, and after that there's really no catalytic climactic huge event that happens, right? Like Tar, we get
Yeah.
like her really intense conducting, and then we get her like storming onto the stage, and then eventually we get her at the end, and like,
Unraveling. Yeah.
yeah, and those are all things that feel really like big, this is a moment. But when you look at this film, I think it's hard to pinpoint big moments. Like you really are forced to just sit with it. Like this is a film that my mom would absolutely hate. Like she would call this the most boring thing she's ever seen in her life. And so
Why do you
that's how
think
I
she would
know
hate
that
it?
it's because she would say like nothing's happening, and that's how I know that it's like a really
Everything's happening. What are you talking about?
contained movie.
Yeah. Um I it really pains me. I think maybe I'm like after what I watched Poor Things and this in 2 days span, like back to back.
That's
I don't know
crazy
why
because they're
I'm in a
so
pain.
different.
I don't. It's very different way of like looking at life and like
Hmm.
perception. I think these two films certainly have those elements in it. Maybe I'm in a really like sad like mode of watching movie. The only thing I can think of like watching Anatomy of a Fall, it's like the family is never happy. Like we rarely see a happy family together, um,
Right.
and nothing really like happy families. Or there's only one happy family, but there's like a million different versions of like an unhappy family. I think, um, but watching this in the setting of like a courtroom drama really reminds me of like how good it is to see a film like this. Like why are there not more films like this? Um, Simple setting, but character work done really well. Fantastic acting and like casting
Just really
choices.
intentional. Everything about this movie is really intentional.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I guess I haven't really talked about Sandra's performance, but I think she is so amazing in this movie. Like she's so good at playing this like character with a calm demeanor, but who's very direct and direct in the fact of like how she speaks to you, but then like kind of ambiguous about like what her intentions are. Like,
Because she's self-aware.
yeah,
She's self-aware of like, oh, she's an act. She's not an actress. She's a writer.
yeah,
She sort of has that framework about like truth and fiction, as pretty evident in the first scene of the movie, where like the interview scene, right? Um, but she also knows about like her her directness. She's almost pleading. She's almost like in between the lines, like can we get this over with, or like I'm gonna talk so much crap about my husband, so I just want to get this over with.
right,
Um,
right. And she
she's
also has like, she also like plays a character very well. Like I said, you don't know exactly what she's thinking, but there's like this bubbling resentment like right at the beginning when he's playing the loud music. Like she's not leaning in to this like super resentful like fuck him, what is he doing, what an asshole type of thing, but you can tell that all of those thoughts are there in just how she speaks and
Yeah,
looks.
because she cannot that part of her cannot come through in a courtroom setting, because it will only put more suspicion towards her in a way. Um,
Right.
yeah,
And then the ending, oh my god, it's like this just like huge event, traumatic experience has happened to this family, and then it's such a quiet ending. It's such a quiet ending. We as the audience still have no idea if she's done it or not. I mean, we have our opinions, but she just lays down with the dog and it's over. Like it's just like such a
How do you read that? Like, do you have an
it's
interpretation?
sad. It made me sad. I left this movie feeling like a great amount of sadness.
It's pretty poignant. It's like I wondered the aftermath of the whole courtroom, like if she really had done it and the son is helping her case, like how are they gonna move on from that?
Mm-hmm.
Like the son, like it's also the dog though. Like the way that I kind of read the ending was kind of her thanking the dog, which felt
Aw.
really unnerving to me. Like she's thanking the dog for like putting through all of this and like helping the lie that she kind of built. But also at the same time, the dog is kind of like the only thing that she can kind of hold on with herself and find some kind of comfort in it. Um,
Yeah, it's also filmed very like I'm so excited that the director got nominated. That was a bit of an Oscar surprise that she was nominated for this. It's not what a lot of people did not predict that. Um, but the way this is directed, where like it just feels like almost documentarian style of directing a film, which I think is also why it felt so real.
yeah. Is this
My
do
favorite
you have a lot
scene,
of?
let me just say my favorite scene
Yeah, go for it.
is they're in the courtroom and they're presenting that audio, and then we get to watch that conversation, that's like a long scene. That's like fucking 10 minutes almost of them having this conversation that turns into a fight, and then it turns physical. But again, this film sticks with its MO of like never leaning into the sensational or into the um
The
I
visual,
the,
some
the
way.
visual, I guess, the dramatics, because they show the whole scene, but the moment it gets physical, which I think for a lot of filmmakers would be the moment we have to show, they don't show
That's the
you that, right? Like
climax of the whole film, right? Yeah.
we're back into the courtroom and we can only hear it. And that's like, I don't know, everything like I said in this movie feels like it was done really intentionally and
Yeah.
masterfully. So but that scene
I,
is so
I
good. That scene is so
that
well
scene
acted.
is amazing. It's like I've never quite fight like that before with someone. I've never fought like this. There's like an impulse in me that I really want to fight with someone like this so that I can like
We
do all
can
her
fight.
lines. You're in your 40s. How dare you? You came here to this is your trap. This is the trap that you set for yourself.
I
So
actually
you
don't
woke
want
up
to
at
do that.
40. I'll never quite fight with someone like this, and I'm always scared like what kind of person I would become when I'm fighting with someone. Um, but I'm never a physical person. I can say really mean things,
Right.
um, and I'm just
I
like
mean, I've had
afraid
plenty of
that
physical fights with my siblings, but like
with your siblings, right?
I don't know. I don't know. It's also like they're at
Yeah,
a different stage of life. Like I don't it's hard for me to put myself, like obviously I've had big fights with, my partner. I've had big fights with my siblings, whatever, my parents, friends. I've had plenty of fights in my life, okay?
yeah.
Um
The way that
I
adults fights are so more like economical, right?
yeah, I
It's
don't
the
know
way
what it
that
would be like to have this kind of fight in your 40s with these kinds of feelings, especially his feelings of like um, being inadequate or running out of time, or like this jealousy or this resentment that's bubbling. But then she also has resentment because he's forced her to come live in the fucking Alps away from civilization. And like,
yeah,
it's just like, and that's why it's so, for me, sad and almost disturbing to have all of this unpacked, because it's like years and years and years and years of all of these little things that make up a relationship, in this case a dysfunctional relationship, um, slowly being unwoven and exposed, right? Like the whole thing slowly unravels.
yeah. I think that's only the scene that the husband was acting in, which
No,
I
there
don't think
were the
really
other one
paints.
was the other one was when the son gives his testimony, but they don't.
Yeah,
Do they have audio for that though?
No, they don't have
It's
audio.
just a
They do have
visual.
audio, but it was his son lip syncing, not lip syncing, narrating over
A lip
him,
sync for
the
your
father in the
life.
literally. um,
Literally.
I don't think the fight scene was like. I think the fight scene was really done really well, but I don't think it
Hmm.
really paints a really good light on him as a father. Um, like I think he
It didn't
was.
paint a good light on either of them.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't really side well with the father in this movie. Um, and the fact that like he really needed that help that she couldn't give. Um, and I like the fear that I have in watching the movie is like we're all gonna become that some point in life. We're gonna have deep relationships. Not me being a cynic, but like we have little
No, I
grudges
get that.
towards things. We all have our own biases or like the way that we think of ourselves as like more altruistic or sacrificing, but then we might not be the way that we think we are, right? Like
Right.
but it's also really refreshing to watch this movie because it kind of teaches a little bit about like self-awareness and like self-perception in a way that if I get into a murder trial, like that's all kind of what we have. It doesn't matter what we say about ourselves anymore because it's ultimately kind of
And it doesn't
lies.
matter. It doesn't even really matter what the truth is. It matters literally how you present information or what information you choose to present, and then like you said, how people perceive you.
Exactly.
And that's the justice
Um,
system, everyone. So
that's the French justice system, or is it where is it again?
it's the
It's in
French.
French.
It's in France.
It's in
You know what
French.
shocked me, because this is an international film, it's a French production company. A lot of English in this movie.
English. I think that also warrants another extra point for Sandra because of her bilingual acting and her frustration towards the language, and then she had to like switch it over.
I know,
Um,
really. Yeah, and I don't know, I don't have anything really profound to say, but I'm really interested if there could be some sort of analysis on language in this film and the emotions that they're feeling
totally.
towards language. And like her whole thing, she was like, because the dad was like, we live in France, you don't speak to your son in French. And she was like, I don't
This is the
he
middle
was
ground. We're
he
not
was
in
like, yeah, he was
anybody's
like, that's his
turf or
native tongue.
anything.
And she was like, I don't speak in my native tongue either, so we meet in the middle of English. And that's just like an interesting idea to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Imagine raising bilingual. I mean, that makes sense though. Like raising your child in English, but that's that's your
I honestly
blame.
think her logic of that being the middle ground makes sense to me.
Makes sense to me, which for the father does not make sense. I'm like, it's not
I
even
think he
about the
sounded
language.
like a prick. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just want to be a prick. Exactly. I was gonna say her performance. I would just want to add like she's like almost like when she's doing her lines, she's almost grasping for air. She's almost, like trying to find courage and trying to find strength. Like a lot of courtroom scenes. Um, Extra points for that. I don't think there's a lot of restraint in her acting. Of us not being like a Sandra Hüller viewer from a long time, but um,
I
I'm
know. I
excited to
really want to
watch more
watch. I really
French
want to watch more of
movies.
her films. I want to watch. I want to
Yeah,
watch her German films. She's known for
yeah.
this film called Tori Erdmann,
I heard it's great.
2016. I'd like to watch
It's
that.
like a it's like a workplace comedy kind of about her father visiting her for a work trip, and it turns into kind of chaos. Um,
Anyways,
do you
I
have
don't
any
have
more
much.
thoughts about the movie?
No, I don't have much to say. I'm interested to see how it performs at the Oscars because, I mean, listen, I've seen everyone in this category except Annette Bening. And if you want me to spill my personal tea, I think Sandra Hüller is my personal pick for Best Actress.
Already, this is your first pick.
I think
I
she is who I would give it to of who I've seen.
I think this gives me like dark horse energy.
I don't think
Yeah,
she'll win. I don't think she'll win, but
I don't think she's gonna win either. It's
I'm
probably
worried that
going
the
to
film, it's nominated for 5 Oscars. I'm worried it'll just be locked out. Like I think this film could win screenplay. I think this film could win directing. I think this film could win best actress, and quite frankly, I think this film could win best picture. And I would think it's justified.
International films never bore well. Never
Parasite would
do
like to
well.
have a conversation with you.
Is the Parasite in the room with us this year?
You are the Parasite.
I'm the Parasite. Totally. Let's. I can't wait. It's probably gonna win something. Most likely directing. But I haven't.
I
seen
think
the
maybe
rest of it,
screenplay. I think maybe screenplay. I think Chris Nolan is pretty locked in for directing, but I think this could win screenplay.
Oh God. Okay.
Anyways,
well, let's see.
Next week we're gonna continue on with our Oscars month, and we're gonna do Annette Bening, right? Annette Bening in Nyad.
Nyad. Yeah. Let's do that. Jodie Foster, I believe.
Which is the only one I haven't seen, so maybe I'll be eating my words and I'll change my mind, but I doubt it.
Biopic warning.
Oh yes, it is a biopic, right?
Jesus Christ.
Our favorite.
Okay, we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to Film Fatales. You can always follow us on social media on Instagram at Film Fatales Pod for memes, reviews, and previews and all that stuff. And give us a 5-star rating wherever you are.
5-star rating. Thank you.
I'll see you next week. We'll
We're co-owners of this baby.
Goodbye.
Bye.